Alright, so I was trying to look around. Hey everybody, BDL44, welcome to my channel. Looking around, trying to figure out if what I just read actually had any real merit to it, because I'm getting the information fast. And yes, Shams has reported that Kyrie Irving has requested a trade. Now, not to where, but he wants to be moved before the trade deadline. So this is going to be very interesting because obviously most people are going to be saying the LA Lakers. As am I, LA Lakers. Now the question is, what is the price tag, and is Genie willing to re-sign him? And another question, of course, is the bigger question: who else is involved? Who else wants him? And that should be a lot of teams. A lot of teams should want him. A lot of teams with better packages than the Lakers, which is why it's going to cost us 2 picks to get him. All they need is a few people to say, we'll pay 2 picks or 3, and the Lakers have to give up the farm. So this becomes a situation where if the Lakers are truly involved, which I'm not sure, if the Lakers truly do get involved, it's going to be about whether or not Genie's willing to re-sign him and pay the price tag for him in the short term while we try to get him as a rental, if that's what we're going to do. Now, from what I understand, the Lakers have, LeBron James, some tea leaf somewhere I read that he might be interested in Joe Harris being a shooter for him. That was always a concern. Not a concern, but it was always an option for us. And the concern was, would he be healthy? We've seen him play now. He's played well enough to know that he is healthy. So maybe taking his contract might be a requirement for whatever team takes Kyrie Irving. I don't know how that works, but now that Kyrie has put this out there, the leverage is not with the Brooklyn Nets. And that's something that we need to also work into our equation when we think about this. As I always say, when you have a trade demand, you essentially take the ability to move you out of the GM's hands in most situations. But given the fact that he's an expiring contract, that may not necessarily hurt as much, given the fact that he's asking to be traded. I'm thinking it's probably a situation where they've probably already discussed this and are now, as a collective unit, ready to reveal to all of us that they're ready to make this decision. I think this is how this is going. It's sort of like when they worded, so-and-so coach has resigned. What they didn't tell you is that they asked him to respectfully leave, and that they would reword it in such a way so that we would all understand it to be him resigning. But at the end of the day, he's being forced out. This is one of those situations where I think it's sort of like that. They've chosen to word this a certain way. They're strategizing it a certain way. They knew this was approaching because we all knew this was approaching. Now the question is Kyrie making this trade demand because the Brooklyn Nets are unwilling to do what makes sense, which is to trade him or pay him, and they're ready to let him stay on this season, for the remainder of the season with the Brooklyn Nets, and possibly just walk, as to which doesn't, that's not what Kyrie wants to do, it seems. So that might be what we're seeing here. I'm speculating all the way around at this point. It could be what we're seeing at face value, which is, Kyrie's tired of being there. He's ready to move on. He wants to do it now. You know what I mean? He has a destination in mind. And he knows where he wants to go, and he wants to be there. Which tells me that, he's probably trying to get to LA. I really do think that. I think that he's been a part of the plans here for probably the entire time. As I've been mentioning on my channel repeatedly, I never forgot the fact that both of these GMs for both respective corners met before the summer league game. I think a day before the summer league began. I think somewhere around that time, Brooklyn representatives and Laker representatives met. And as I always say, they probably met about something that was going to take place at this trade deadline, not something that was going to be done in an imminent way while the market was locked, because the only thing to discuss at that time was the market is locked, which was something we understood on this channel. So it was like, even if you wanted to do something, you weren't going to do it then, but you definitely knew you'd probably be able to do it now. And so both sides probably agreed to do it now. So all of this just looks like I said, they're wording it a certain way based on what they're trying to do to make things happen, probably involving other teams. But I think the Lakers and the Nets have been in cahoots to make this happen the whole time, if an agreement was already in place to make this happen. So I don't know. It's all speculation, but for me, I just read tea leaves, like I said. At the end of the day, for me, My concern, I got several concerns. My first concern is size. Size. Are the Lakers going to be still running small ball when we bring Kyrie here if we're able to win the Kyrie sweepstakes? That's my concern as a Laker fan looking to acquire Kyrie Irving for my team. And then of course there are other concerns that are bigger concerns that are not as concerning to me in a different way. But like, are we going to win the sweepstakes? Do we have enough? Are the Nets going to spite us and not trade him here for whatever reason? Is he the best piece for us? Obviously, would we be better if we did other things? And even though I'm supporting of this, doesn't necessarily mean the things that I've supported haven't been proven to not necessarily be the better choice in the long run. So I trust myself to a degree when it comes to basketball, but I'm still a learning entity too. I supported Russell Westbrook coming here. I supported Lonzo Ball over Jason Tatum. I wish I didn't. So these are things I have to be real about when I sit up here and say what I support. But at the end of the day, the way that Kyrie Irving is playing, the fact that he's won with LeBron James before, the fact that we were, in a space where we could use some new guards, given the fact that a lot of our problems are there in that space with our guard situation. I personally think us reimagining our guard rotation isn't the worst thing in the world. So for me, it's like I've always wanted Kyrie Irving to be in this situation with us for a multitude of reasons, including the fact that I think he's the best ball handler and maybe even the best finisher in the game. Definitely the best ball handler. So for me, it's like if we can put that piece on our team, it can also help mask some of our problems. Put him on our team, he can help us win games if AD or LeBron is missing. He's the type of guy who's going to be extremely intelligent, so he's going to help us with certain things in regards to getting guys involved, moving the team's agenda forward as a point guard, and then snapping out of that whenever he wants to and being able to break down the defense by himself. You know what I mean? With his talent. So I understand him to be not as a durable piece as Russell Westbrook, which is something we always have to understand when we build the way that we do, because we have players that are not durable. So one of the things we need is durability. And in size, again, that's another thing. No matter how great a smaller player is, at the end of the day, they're going to get rebounded over, and that's going to make life harder on you. So that's one of the situations where, for me, those are my real concerns. For our team, we just have trouble with smaller players based on the fact that we just don't know how to structure them properly on the floor with players that help them Coach Ham. So as a Laker fan, I come at things from a Laker perspective, and that's what I care about. But from a zoom out perspective, you wonder if you're going to be signing Kyrie Irving. If you're any team, will he want to be on your team? That's the kind of thing that comes to mind. First of all, if he comes there and he doesn't like the vibes, are you going to have a problem? You know what I mean? If for some reason he comes there and the team's no good, will he still be playing at this level? You know what I mean? Based on Brooklyn being a situation where he's more comfortable, it's closer to home, that kind of thing. So these are questions. Is something going to happen and he's going to choose differently? Maybe he decides not to play basketball for whatever reason. We've seen that a couple times. How will that affect your team if you have to do that and deal with that? And then there's just a lot of questions based on how things are worked out or not so worked out with the Brooklyn Nets. So there's going to be people who wonder if he's going to offend based on what has been posted or not posted. But I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of commentary there to offset a lot of the negative commentary that I think ultimately proves Kyrie to be a solid dude who may have made some mistakes in the past, may have said some things that may have been inaccurate, no different than myself. So I look at it as a situation where, all things considered, his basketball talent is definitely worth putting on any basketball team. It's just a matter of him choosing basketball over whatever else he would decide to do, and then respecting the fact that others are going to react to that if he doesn't. And so I think that lesson's been learned. I think he's been through enough with the whole situation, with the vaccine, the whole situation with the posting, and ultimately the reprimanding. And I think it's ultimately led us to this space. The consequences of certain choices that he's made has put us in a position where it's not as comfortable being in the position he's in when it's time to be resigned. And I think that's a lesson learned. I think he's in a different space right now, different family structure in place now for him to consider. And I think he's ready to move on from Brooklyn, from the East Coast, and maybe possibly move to the Lakers or maybe even to Miami or one of these teams where he can kind of settle in, do what it is that he does, play for a championship, and kind of put some of the bad stuff behind him, some of the bad energy behind him, and maybe even play in a new conference. As I consider, he's been in Cleveland, Boston, and now Brooklyn. He's kind of played in certain structures. Maybe just experience something entirely different. You know, moving to the Western Conference, playing in the West Coast, it's like an entirely different world from what I've been told and what I've listened to over the years for players who just understand the travel is different, time zone is different, the rivalry energy is different, even the officiating, the way you're called sometimes can be different, and the way you're defended. A lot of things just changes when you're in the Western Conference, and so maybe he wants to experience that. Maybe he wants to see how it is on this side. And of course, playing, you know, in the Western Conference, you're going to have to deal with different teams and different types of defenses coming at you, which I think could be intriguing to him, given the fact that he's been in the East the whole time. So with his talent level, what it is that he does, you know, I just see him wanting to be a Laker, man. Call me crazy. There are other teams that would probably fit even better, just to be completely real with you. But I just see him leaving there to come here, play with Bron, play with AD, save us from some of the stuff that we're dealing with some of the lower IQ stuff that we're seeing, some of the not so great ISO situations. If he's watching from afar, he knows he can help us in some of those areas. So it's just one of those things where I think he thinks he can win here, man. At least in the short term, I think he thinks if he brings himself to this situation, we have a much stronger chance of winning the championship than maybe he has over there, with the iffy nature of some of the roster down there. Even though you believe in KD, maybe not Ben Simmons back. You know what I mean? Maybe not some of those role players that are going to take a little longer. Maybe not in Sean Marks and Joe Tsai doing what they need to do to ultimately provide a future for you that you can be a part of. And at the end of the day, if they're pushing you out the door, which I think they may be, because I don't know if they want to re-sign Kyrie anyway, he understands that he's not a part of this situation, even though he's playing his heart out for it. So it's sort of like Russell Westbrook over here in Lakerland, where we're saying he's not going to be a part of this thing until he knows he's a part of this thing. So as long as there's some chance he can be traded, he's probably not going to play his best. And that's kind of what we've seen. It's been up and down, up and down, up and down, and his energy's been all over the place because he really doesn't know if he's actually a part of this thing. So it becomes a situation where you just ultimately want out of that circumstance if you're in it, especially if it's outside of your control and time is running out and you're a free agent. So this is like Rui Hachimura's situation. You know, he needed to get out from Washington's situation to sign, you know, to find himself in a situation where he can prove what he can do further and try to, get the best opportunity at a free agent contract that'll work for him. So I think Kyrie's in that same space. He wants to get paid. Joe Tsai is likely not going to give him a contract that he can respect. And so he needs to search for that elsewhere. And in order to do that, he probably would be best to be in a winning situation. And if the Nets aren't going to, you know, obviously showcase him properly, he needs to get that guy out of there and find another winning situation. So that's what I think this is. It's exactly what this is. And, you know, if the Lakers aren't going to be the winning team, there are going to be other teams. Like I said, I can think of a few teams that may want to move on from guards that they have. Minnesota, the first team that comes to mind with D'Angelo Russell. He's the first one to come to mind. If they can turn D'Angelo Russell into Kyrie Irving, they should do that immediately. And so that's the type of thing where you're the Lakers, you're holding two picks. You know, you may want to throw in something you may need to in order to do that. But then when you do that, are you sure you're re-signing him? Minnesota, I'm not trying to put anything on A-Rod. I don't know that he's decided to do this in any way, shape, or form. But in that case, I would imagine they would make a trade like that because they were willing to. So, you know, these are the type of things you think about. But at the end of the day, it does come down to what the, you know, Nets are going to be willing to do at this point. Just because he's made his trade demand does not mean that they got to just do what it is that he's asked them to do. They can very easily just hold on to his right to let him expire anyway. I don't know that they benefit from that. In fact, I'm pretty certain that that's not the best course of action for them. But they have their choices. They have their options with him expiring. They've already said many times they don't want Russell Westbrook. I don't think that's changed. I do not think that's changed, but I also heard rumors of the Utah Jazz starting to work up their conversations in regards to acquiring Russell Westbrook. So my assumption is they would just be worked into the Kyrie deal. I mean, that's kind of forming anyway. Because you would have to find a landing spot for Russell Westbrook. Everybody knows that. So that's a no-brainer. Now, what would be sent to Brooklyn in regards to that situation? I didn't match the salaries, but the first name that comes to mind is Malik Beasley, I can totally see him ending up either here or in Brooklyn, one or the other. Especially if Brooklyn's going to be sending Joe Harris somewhere, they're going to want to get a shooter back. So I'm pretty sure he'd be on the move. Mike Conley's another name. If you're getting Kyrie Irving out of Brooklyn, you're probably going to want to acquire Mike Conley in his stead. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I'm getting Ben Simmons the hell out of here, bro. And I like Ben Simmons. Y'all know I'm a Ben Simmons fan. So it's not like I'm not willing to take on Ben Simmons if I'm in the right situation. I don't believe the Lakers are at all, by the way. We're not. But if I'm Brooklyn and I'm moving off of Kyrie Irving, I definitely want Ben gone. He got to go. He has to go. He's too much of a maybe in regards to his health and his shooting and all of that. You just got to rid yourself of that problem, man, if at all possible. I'm just telling the truth. And I don't know if that's in Brooklyn's, if that's in their thoughts. I've been an advocate for keeping him there if they were planning to rebuild. But where his health is right now, where it's headed, it's just too iffy based on the short-term situation they have with the 4 years of KD's contract on tap. And if they don't want to move that, which is going to be crazy how they're going to be able to keep him in this situation. I don't think a couple Utah Jazz players is going to make him happy in this situation. So it's going to get real interesting in Brooklyn if they do trade Kyrie Irving. It's going to get interesting. I don't know where this goes from here. In fact, I think KD's going to probably want out right now too. And that's the thing, you got to tell you the truth. I never thought KD wanted to stay. I never thought he changed his mind. I just thought that the market was locked up for him. He could not get the hell out of there. As far as I could tell, he wants out of there just as bad as he wanted out of there right now, earlier. And all the talk that he's been having about wanting to stay there, maybe he changed his mind, I don't know. But I don't see any real reason for him to have changed his mind. I just see more of a reason for him to have told us he changed his mind. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, as far as I can tell, if I'm him, I want out too. I want Brooklyn to trade my contract as well. But that's me putting words in his mouth. He's not saying that, but that's just what it looked like. It don't make no sense for him to want to stay there. Not if Kyrie's got to get traded. So that's going to get really interesting, man. He's still got, 3.5 years on his contract or something like that? So I know Phoenix was interested in it initially. Obviously, Miami was interested in it as well. Golden State, if they can get KD right now, they should give up anything they got to get KD right now. There should be nothing they're willing to hold on to. All that stuff they thought was worth so much at the beginning of the season, it's worth like 1/10 of that right now. Like 1/10 of it. The Moses Moody and them guys, they're not on the right side of what it looks like. So at this point, their value's down. Now that doesn't mean it's not a good time to invest in those dudes. In fact, it probably is. But that's not the point. It's about what they're worth today and what you can get for them right now. And I don't think they can get KD for the package of those guys right now. So that's really interesting to me. Just looking at how Golden State's asset class has kind of deteriorated right before our very eyes. But it is what it is, man. You know, they gotta develop those guys. They would not switch up their timeline worth a dang. We talked about this. Like, they want to keep the old dudes in place, the Klay Thompsons and the Draymond Greens, but then they also want to ask the Moses Moody's and the Jonathan Wiseman to step up and be superstars, and they ain't even played them like that. It's the same problem that Boston had with Kyrie Irving and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, ironically enough. It's the same problem. It's like, stop asking people to step in front of people who need to be stepping forward. You know, stop that. Teams do that far too often. So that's what I'm seeing in Golden State, and because of it, those players are underdeveloped, and as a result, they're not worth as much. They're displaying that they should have been getting playing time the whole time. It's like I said about Max Christie on the Lakers. We're playing all the players that we're playing and letting him sit there not getting the experience, and when we do call on him, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Same exact thing. So yeah, those are my concerns, man. It's not really about the superstars. You can bring you a Kyrie Irving, a Fred VanVleet. You can bring yourself all these players, but at the end of the day, if the rest of these other guys are being mismanaged, you know, players are being put on the floor for sole reasons of minutes only and got nothing to do with what's going on the floor, it ain't gonna matter what stars you get. They're gonna be overused, asked to do too much, pushed around, and ultimately injured. So that's what I want to not have happen. You know what I mean? Otherwise, a superstar gonna be a superstar. He's gonna give me 60 points. He's gonna do what he does. You just got to keep people on the floor who are sturdy enough to keep them upright when they need to get a breather or when they need some size on the floor or something like it. You know what I mean? So that's what it's about. I trust superstars. I know they're going to do what superstars do, but do they have the support around them? I'm not going to say help, because that implies in something entirely different, but the support around them, sturdy enough, strong enough, so that you can make these things happen for yourself. And then at the same time, when they are, it's easier to make trades like this. Simply put, it's easier to make these type of trades. So I'm curious to see what the Utah Jazz are going to do, just circling back to them, because I know another player by the name of Jared Vanderbilt is a player they'd rather not move on from, but he's also one of the most coveted players on their roster. His names have been involved in these trade rumors. I want the Lakers to grab him. If the Utah Jazz are a part of any deal, we're getting players, picks, and stuff like that out the way. If somehow he happens to end up in the deal, I think that's a home run. I really think that's a home run. Even though we got the Wenyen Gabriels and all those players, it ain't enough. Anthony Davis always needs a guy like Jared Vanderbilt on his team. I'm telling you, he's needed. I don't care if Darvin Ham's willing to play him or not. You need those guys if you're going to win. Because if you don't have those dirty bird, go hard wing guys that can block 3-point shots, you know what I mean? Get to the highest point higher and quicker than other people. Your Herb Joneses, players like that. If you don't have those guys on your team, there will be no championship for you. You're going to need those players. And while Anthony Davis can do a lot of that stuff, I want to have enough insurance for Anthony Davis so that when he goes down, we're still in the mix. We're still in the mix. And that needs to be a situation where you have less superstars and more good quality role players. Good contracts so you can have them plentiful. That's what it's about, man. So I want the Lakers to do that over and over again until you find the right mix of players that you have, man. Let's not sit on the JTAs and the Damian Joneses too long. We getting a trade going, make sure Damian's a part of it. Get his contract into a space where he can catch lobs, man. Send him to Charlotte so he can catch lobs. These are the type of things I'm talking about. It ain't that deep. Send a guy like Damian Jones to Cleveland so he can be on their third string and catch lobs from Ricky Rubio. That's all that needs to happen, man. That's all that needs to happen. We don't have any real point guards on this team in that regard, except for Russell Westbrook, and he's not on the floor with Damian Jones ever. You know what I mean? Let's be real. Damian Jones don't be on the floor with point guards like that. So you put him on the floor with a big like Bron. Bron's looking to score when that guy's on the floor. You ain't looking to lob the ball to him. You understand what I'm saying? It's that type of thing. So it's just no way for a guy like Damian to ever succeed. And we got him sitting on this roster for no reason. No reason. And it ain't like the boy doesn't have his strengths, but you would swear he can't play worth a damn sitting on our roster. Because every time we put him down there, we have him doing stuff he ain't got no business doing. So, hey, big trade. If we can get Kyrie Irving, amazing. The fact that he's requested this trade, supreme. But I'm telling you, Kyrie, you come into a situation where they're going to be asking you to do things big people do. This ain't Jock Vaughn, bro. This ain't Jock Vaughn. That's the problem. But I can see a world where we keep Patrick Beverley. Call me crazy. I can see a world where we keep Patrick Beverley and Dennis Schroeder, and he bring Kyrie here, and Kyrie actually loses a little minutes because he has to play Patrick Beverley. Or he plays Kyrie Irving at the 2 because Patrick Beverley must have the 1 spot. Like, these are the things that I'm legitimately worried about because these are the things that we've actually seen. Stuff that makes no sense. So my concern is that we get Kyrie here. We don't do all that. Maybe he doesn't play as well as he did in Brooklyn, or maybe he does, but it doesn't work out. And then we would have traded whatever we trade, brought him to this situation with this coach. He's going to be running around small ball, and it can go a million different ways, maybe with him even getting injured because we're asking him to do them things big people do. If you ask Russell Westbrook to do things big people do, it's going to work out because Russell Westbrook's a big person and he's 6'4", but he's like, he's stronger than most human beings his size. So you can put him on those bigger guys and he's going to stand up to them. You can't do that with everybody. So we need to be very smart about what we're doing, even if our heart's involved. If we're bringing Kyrie to a situation where he's going to be getting, beat up and taking on punishment that's not taking place over there because he's playing with Claxton and Sharp, you know what I'm saying? We need to be real. Everybody needs to be real. You come into a better situation? I don't know. Might be lateral, bro. Based on how these boys been structuring things, we got the talent. but we just disarm ourselves so very much by the choices we make. And nobody seems to be hell-bent on changing anything except for the roster. So as far as I can tell, when you get here, you're going to be in some small ball lineups, maybe different guards, but it's the same mantra. They're going to want you down there next to people with 6'3", 6'2", 6'3". You might have Thomas Bryant down there. You might have AD if he's healthy. But you're going to be down there with some small people. I'm just telling you right now, Kyrie. That's how they move down here. So they seem to be wanting more small people. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm a Lakers fan. And I'm also a Kyrie fan. So I want to see both parties in good situations. And I think we're better for having Kyrie. But I'm telling you, if they don't change what they're doing and start having a little more sense about what they're doing, he might not be better for coming here. That's just real. Same with Fred VanVleet. Ain't no different. Same with any other guard come here. It's the same thing. So that's my concern. The Lakers need to change what they're doing, and they need to hear us. They need to hear us when we say that. You know, because you put Kyrie in these small lineups, he has had his injury issues with broken bones. We do not want to play around with people's health, man. We don't. The stupid lineups that we have, having them guarding people that are 6'7", 6'6", like we're prone to do, it's a no-go, man. That's bad. And when he's not going to be successful doing it either, we're going to be mad at him, too, for not playing defense, and it's unnecessary. So all of this is foreseeable. I see it all ahead of time, and we just need to make sure that we don't do any of that. We don't do any of that. We get him on our team and we help him understand our principles. We bring people along slowly, unlike what we're doing with Hachimura. We're doing that all wrong. But, you know, he's handling it well. At the end of the day, man, that's what it's about. I'm super excited about overall Kyrie Irving getting out of the Brooklyn situation. I think they were handling him unjustly in regards to his energy and what he was doing. They didn't have his back when he probably needed it. They were applying more pressure. And ultimately, what the understanding is that they're not going to give him a contract that doesn't involve him giving up some basic freedoms that he ultimately wants to preserve. Now, that's not unreasonable based on the history and his choices. But nevertheless, he needs to liberate himself from that. And I think the Brooklyn Nets need to part ways with him. Just the same. As we've talked about a million times on this channel. Nothing's changed there. If I'm Brooklyn, I'm moving on. And that's okay. Because it's history. Same thing with Russell Westbrook. Lakers would like to move on because it's history now. We'd like to part ways with this. It doesn't mean that he hasn't rekindled his career or can't win. We just don't know if this is the place he can succeed anymore. So that's where we're at, man. I'm hopeful that we can get a deal going. Where Kyrie Irving comes here, Westbrook in somewhere else, preferably maybe Utah, and then maybe we can find a way to make Vanderbilt come here, or Joe Harris come here, or Seth Curry. Maybe we can move on from Patrick Beverly. You know, some other pieces as well. Damian Jones. Other pieces that won't be re-signed as well. So these are all things I want Rob Pelinka to get on top of. Trade deadline's about 5 days away. And Kyrie has told us he wants out of Brooklyn. We need to put our two picks in a position, if they're going to get out, to not only have him coming back for those two picks. Just finesse it out to where we got 5 and 6 teams involved so we can get a nice return regardless of what's going on. So that's what I got to say, man. Even if we're not getting Kyrie Irving, get involved in this trade. Hear me good. Just because you're not getting the main piece does not mean you don't get other pieces. Get involved in whatever big trade's taking place. Rob, we need you in these trades. And I know people don't want to move Pat Beverly, but we need to. We need to. I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with how he's playing. It has to do with how our roster is constructed while he's on the floor. Key pieces are not on the floor because our coach is leaning on him. And those key pieces are the pieces you need to keep our team getting 50-50 balls, offensive rebounds, and various things that help you along the way and keep you from having these close games that we have trouble winning. That's it. We're keeping the game close, and we need to stop that. Play size and get more talent. So that's what I got to say, man. My name is BDO44. I thank you all for watching.